Hello, and welcome to a very serious episode of Pull Yourself to Pieces, the podcast.
Can you be serious?
I can when I
Seriously.
have to be. Yes, when I have to be serious, I can.
Okay.
And we're going to
Let's
tackle
see.
some
I'm going to have like a little
serious.
serious meter just to make sure. And
Oh, yeah?
every time you bring out a joke, I'm going to add
Yeah.
them. I'm going to collect them all together and we'll see
Okay.
how many.
That's going to be tough because, I can find the humor in almost anything. So
That's true. And isn't that what this podcast was supposed to be?
right. But every now and then we have to get serious because
Okay.
there are serious things going on in this country,
Agree.
and we
Agree.
need to talk about them.
Agree.
And who better to talk about serious stuff in this country than our friend Michelle, the lawyer from Twitter. Hi, Michelle. Welcome to the show.
Hey,
Thank
Michelle.
you. Thank you.
Hi.
Thank you.
It's glad to have you back again.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's great to be back.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
to have you. Well, it's great to be anywhere, if you ask me.
Alive.
No, it's just good to be anywhere. I don't go out much. I've become a hermit. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I really don't go out much.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to talk about like one of the taboo subjects that you're not supposed to talk about, and that is religion.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah. In
Yep.
this country and the world.
Yep.
Yep. So, Michelle made a very interesting exclamation on our last show that she was never exposed to any kind of religious indoctrination growing up as a child. And Billy and I found that amazing because
yes.
practically everybody, somehow, some way, unless you are the child of two atheist parents, which how many times does that happen? Look, we're surrounded by religion everywhere we go, right? It's
In America. Yep.
in America, we're surrounded by, and not just one religion. We are the melting pot. We're surrounded by all kinds of religions. How about the first religion, the indigenous people's religion? There's that, right? I mean,
Yep.
there's that religion. And I think that one is probably the mostly grounded in just realism versus, false deities and all kinds of dogma. I kind of like the indigenous people's religion.
Sure.
I kind of like it.
Sure.
It's
Um,
earth-based.
It's
Sure.
earth
Right.
based.
Yes. Yes.
I like that. I like some of the things that they stood for,
Sure.
Yep.
and it's a shame that they're now having to live on little postage stamp sized pieces of land in this great country that we stole from them.
Yeah.
Yep.
But anyway,
Yeah.
so there's that religion.
Well, we didn't,
But-
not any of the three of us personally, but
No,
yeah.
not any of us personally stole from them. No, no, not at all.
But
No.
yeah, that's true.
No.
So I guess at this point, the person best to describe this mess of a country and going on with the religion is Michelle, because she's the one that has had no indoctrination whatsoever. Now, Billy and I were raised Catholic only because we're Italian.
Right.
And I got sent
It goes
to
hand in
Catholic
hand,
school.
doesn't it?
Right.
Yeah, it does. You have to be. That's it.
Yeah.
And I lost my religion in Catholic school, ironically. And Billy has his own thoughts. So Michelle's going to touch on some topics, and I hope all of you out there are paying attention and listening. And here we go. Let's get on with discussion. So Michelle, let's talk. So what's on your mind?
Well, okay, where do we start? All right, so as we touched on last time, I come from an entire line of non-religious folk. They never actually stated they were atheists. They just were non-religious. Nobody went to church. This is my parents, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, everybody,
Wow.
And it also runs down to, of course, my kids and grandkids now, on both sides of
Really?
both sides of my family.
It continues.
Yep.
Wow.
And
That's-
so, I never heard my parents saying they were atheists, never ever. It was just that we didn't go to church. We didn't talk about religion. And later in life, when I talked to them about it, it's clear that they didn't, and their parents didn't, and their parents' parents didn't. And, it's funny because we're white people who supposedly came from the Mayflower. We trace back to, not that I'm proud of that, but,
Right.
we trace back to those days. European, English, Irish, French,
Right.
but nobody
Which
had religion.
Right. Which are steeply based in Catholicism and Christianity.
Right. And
Right.
I don't know why, but nobody adopted it.
Wow.
So I grew up not really thinking about it much, other than the fact that I knew that other kids grew up Catholic in Massachusetts, where I grew up. And it never really became a big issue to me until later in life, when I think it was pretty much after I moved to Texas for a job, and then into North and South Carolina. And then I started to notice the differences in how people dealt with religion in these areas. They take it much more seriously. It seemed to me when I was growing up, people it was more tradition. You just do
Right.
it. You don't necessarily believe in it. You just
You
just
do it
do it.
because everybody else around you does it.
Yeah. And
Right.
I would go with friends to, sometimes Christmas or Easter services or whatever, just because they were. But nobody talked about religion when I was growing up. I never felt it to be a problem. But once I got into Texas, North and South Carolina, I started to notice the difference. I felt that, not being a part of their religions was an issue, but
For you or for them?
for me, well, for both, for
Did you
both.
did you feel kind of like left out?
Growing up, you mean?
Yeah.
No,
You didn't feel left out, but you kind of thought you
no,
kind of did you feel like a third wheel because everybody else was in the same club and you're
no.
kind of so how did it play out for you? Were you
It
'cause
just
I'm
it was a non-issue,
oh, it
really.
was a non-issue. Okay.
Like, I didn't have people around me who were talking about religion ever, and
Okay.
I never felt like I was discriminated against because I wasn't part of it. I never felt I wasn't part of the group. It just never
Oh,
affected me.
really?
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know. I guess we
Yeah.
could call those good Christians.
Yeah. I mean, it was a real change when I moved to Texas. I think a lot of it is Baptists, in the evangelical religions. And also, I find in the South, it's not just that. It's people, like even Catholics, take their religion more seriously than they seem to up in the
Oh, yeah.
Northeast.
Oh, yes,
You
they
know,
do.
they take it much more to the word of the Bible. And, it's not just a tradition for them. It's who they are.
Yeah.
Right.
And, years, like I've been in North Carolina area about 18 years now. And I have never really felt like I fit in here. I came here for a job, and my kids grew up here and had to go to school here, and I got a divorce, and we had joint custody, and all the kinds of things that kind of keep you in a place, and you have to keep your kids in school here and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
throughout this time, I've noticed how big of a problem it is to not be one of them.
In
Is
what
it
way?
the problem for you, or problem for them, or both?
Both.
Both.
You're an outsider. You're not one of the crowd. You're not
You
one
don't.
of.
Yeah. So in other words, one time you get one of those. So, what's the matter? You don't like Jesus? You get that.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
that's what you get, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
it's nothing that I really understood growing up, and I think a lot of people that grow up in like liberal states, where religion isn't so profound,
Right.
don't quite understand how it can be in the Bible Belt. I mean, I'm in the Bible Belt. And
True.
it's called that for a reason.
Right.
I remember
Right.
like when I took a job in Greenville, South Carolina, moving from Texas. So, here I was in Texas where you'd think it was really bad. Well, I didn't think it was that bad in Texas.
It could have had to do with where you were. I mean, there's thank God there's these pockets in almost every state, thank God.
Yeah, I mean, I was in
a
Houston.
liberal area.
I was in Houston for years, and it's a big melting pot. So I never felt it was a big deal there,
Right.
except for some people.
Right.
But then I moved out to the central hill country,
Oh yeah.
Texas, and there was more country, and I did see it more there for sure.
Yeah.
But then I ended up taking a job in South Carolina, Greenville, South Carolina, and it's so funny. The guy who hired me flew me in for an interview, and I was there for a couple of days, and this whole feeling was different. It was really hard to explain. I just had the worst feeling about it. And I flew home thinking, nah, I'm not going to take this job. I don't want to be here. But then he upped the ante and offered more money and offered to help us move. And, it was just kind of like, well, all right. But we lived in a place called Easley, South Carolina, which is right next to Greenville. We lived there for a year. And it was the worst year I think I've ever had.
Wow. Sorry to hear that.
My 2 kids were in school. My son was in the middle school, I think. My daughter was just in kindergarten. And basically, if you weren't a Baptist, people weren't going to let your kids play with their kids.
Oh my goodness. It's that bad.
I mean,
huh?
Well, they're serious about it, right? So
yeah, we were
Ostracized.
We were ostracized. I mean, we didn't fit in. There was this one big, mega Baptist church in the town that everybody went to. And if you weren't part of that, you were nobody.
Yep.
And that goes hand in hand with being a Republican, all of it. Always. Republicanism and religiosity, and racism. I'm sorry, but they all three are hand in hand all the time.
Yep. Yeah, they're interwoven pretty well.
They're very interwoven, and we had to leave after a year. I refused to stay there.
Well, good for you.
The kids, the schools would allow, paddling, and they would have you sign something if you said you wouldn't allow the schools to paddle your kids.
Wow.
Everything was about religion. My son's middle school, they had buses that would come in the middle of the day to pick these kids up and bring them to Bible school during the middle of the public school day.
Oh, that's just wrong.
Right?
That is so wrong.
They did this. And teachers would write notes and you'd get things, religious little notes and things that would come home with the kids.
Wow. I can't believe they got away with that. How do you get away with that?
They do. They just do, because everybody here is like that. I worked in a federal government job in South Carolina where, if we had a luncheon, this is a federal government job, right?
Okay.
Where if we had have a luncheon, they would do a prayer before lunch.
Oh.
I mean, there are no rules. I mean, that's how it works. That's how it works down here, because everybody down here, the majority of people down here are Baptists, really. And so the rules don't apply. And I noticed it in everything we did. I had to get out. We ended up moving up to North Carolina, across the border, which still has... its
help?
problems.
Did that help?
I mean, the town that we live in is better than where we were.
Right. Okay.
The schools
Again, I feel like you got your
better.
pockets, right? You have your pockets of area. You can
Yeah.
look on the red blue map, and you see you see like Raleigh, for example, and a lot of its surrounding areas is really kind of blue. So you think it's going to be more liberal. It's going to be a little more laid back when it comes to religion. Step outside those areas, right? And then
And
that's when,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I know Raleigh has a big Jewish area too. We lived in Raleigh for a while too
Mhm.
back, and I felt it was better there back then.
Sure.
I don't know how it is now. Since
Yeah.
Trump, I
Yeah,
hear that
sure.
things have gotten a lot worse.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Everywhere.
everywhere,
Yeah.
everywhere, and I mean, like right now, 50% of our country, if not more, is turning red. Okay, it's not only republicanism, but it's racism and religion. The three R's always go together. And you speak out against one, and the others ultimately are interwoven.
Yes.
And I'm tired of it. It's like, we are having a Christo-fascist takeover of our country. And I'm not cool with that. I'm not cool with
No.
that. I'm not, your whole lives you're told to respect everybody's religions, right? Not question, not say anything, just allow everything, because that's how this country has always been. But when you get to the point where that is destroying the very country that you live in, you have to speak out. And I'm
Yes.
doing that. I'm doing that. A lot of people hate it. A lot of people love it. You find that there are a whole lot of people out there who feel exactly the same way that I do about this, but they're afraid to say something. You're always afraid to say something. I mean, historically, atheists have been burned at the stake, right? You're not supposed to speak out against religion.
Right.
And why? Why is that? Why?
Because we poke holes in their religion. Just the fact that we exist, we poke holes in their belief system, and that scares them.
That
It
scares
scares
them.
them. It scares them to know that there are people out there that don't believe what they believe, and that immediately makes them question their own beliefs.
But
Because
there's more than that. Like our
Sure.
government supports this. Our government gives
Yes.
tax exempt status to churches, right?
Right. And why is that?
So, yeah, why?
Why is that?
Yeah,
Why are they allowed to not pay taxes? What is so great about what they do that they make money, right? It's income,
Yes.
right?
And look at
Granted,
Joel
it's-
Osteen. Look at him. Joel
Oh.
Osteen and all the others getting filthy rich off of religion. And they're
Yep.
not taxed for a penny of it. And what are they doing? They're brainwashing people.
Yep.
They're giving them false promises and false
Yep.
hopes. They're not providing any kind of proof that what they're doing for these people is actually beneficial to them.
Right. And they take, and they give nothing back.
No. And they won't even open their doors for homelessness. They won't open their doors for when there are natural disasters and people
Yep.
lose their homes. These people who tithe them, these people who give their money to them every single week or every single month, something devastating happens in their lives. And where's the church to help them out?
Nowhere.
They're nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
Nowhere.
It's such a hypocrisy.
Yeah,
I remember this
people
one-
people think that there's an admission price you have to pay to get into heaven, and that's the church thing.
They're scared.
Yep.
I was talking today about like if churches didn't have that heaven hell thing they're waving over people's heads, right? Would people even go to church? Would they? What would be the point, right?
I think people would go to church at that point strictly for the social climate, just to hang out and see other people.
Okay, but I brought this up like today and the last several days on Twitter. Just say that I were to open a church, right? Say a quote church that had
Okay.
no religion involved. Religion was not a part of it. It was
Right.
all about let's get together, let's hang out, let's have
Right.
little potluck lunches, let's do good
Okay.
things for other people.
Then that's not a
Let's-
church. That's not a church.
It's basically
Well,
a club.
That's
so,
a club.
Okay.
So it's semantics at this point.
Yeah, so
It's
it's not
really-
about that. It's not
Right.
about that. If there weren't the religious aspect of it, would people even bother going there? No.
I say yes. I think people would go just because it's something to do for an hour on a Saturday or a Sunday
If they
to
had to
see
give
their
10% of
to
their income for it?
well, I wouldn't do that. But look, if sometimes when you join a club, there are fees. So those people would still go to this club and think that,
Okay.
oh, this is the fee I need to pay. I mean, you can still be social and take religion out of it completely. So
All right. So why
I
don't
see what
they?
you're
So why don't they? Why
why
don't they?
don't they? Because they're brainwashed. That's the
Well,
thing.
well, that's what I'm saying. Okay. So a lot of the people that talk about, okay, the reasons they go to church, okay, they give that social thing. Oh, it's social. It's,
Yep.
family. It's this and this and this and this, right? But
Tradition.
you take away the religious aspect of that, and it's not the same thing anymore. Okay, it's not the same thing anymore. All of a sudden, it's like going to the YMCA or something instead of going to church. It's like,
Yeah.
but trust me. Do you know how many churches there are in America? I mean,
Lots.
think about it. Think about it. Every corner,
Yes.
every block has a church, right?
Yes.
And
Do
we're not
you-
talking about just like Catholic churches. You'd mean
No,
every-
all
my God.
churches.
There
including,
are-
including temples. Just any.
All churches.
Oh
Right.
gosh, there's 24 offshoots of Christianity alone. Look, I'm in Virginia. I'm in Central Virginia. On the way to my house, I probably pass a dozen different churches easily.
Right. Right. Now,
Easily.
just imagine we took the religion out of those churches. Just say that these were all social clubs. Do you
Okay.
think there'd be so many social clubs existing around every freaking corner?
No.
No.
Probably
think so.
not. Probably
No.
not.
I
no.
agree. You're right.
No, so all of those, it's it's social, it's music, it's this, it's this, it's this. Okay, let's give you all of that in all of those churches, but take away the religion. Are you still going to go? Come on.
Well,
Really?
if they don't do the
I-
mass, or they don't do the, what are they going to
Yeah.
talk about?
Well, some
They
no,
got
but some people need that weekly. See, here's the other
Okay,
thing.
some.
Once you're brainwashed, I think you need that weekly inspiration of brainwashing to keep it going.
Right, but
He only talks for about
what
10
if-
minutes and does a sermon. The rest is the standard programming.
But
Yeah.
what if they're not afraid of going to hell? What if they're not worried about getting into heaven? Okay, just say that the only reasons they're going is the socialization, the music, the once a week kind of routine. If you think that, you're not afraid of not going to heaven or not going to hell, are you really going to do it? Are you going to spend all your time there? Are you going to volunteer? Are you going to do Bible studies during the week? I mean, are there going to be churches around every corner just for a once a week social club? No. I mean, think about all the social clubs out there people could join.
Yeah.
They're afraid. They're afraid that if they don't go to church, they're going to go to hell.
Oh
They're
well,
afraid-
that's because they've been brainwashed into
Well-
believing that. Of course.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Most of them are going to be like that. I think sometimes you might get some people who they have a strong belief that, to them, the church is one and one with God, one and one with Jesus, whatever they believe. And that's going to be their go-to place if they want to pray. It's not the same to
Why
them.
can't they pray at home?
I was going to say,
Yeah,
it's not
exactly.
the same, it's not the
Why
same to
can't-
them that
why-
they can
why-
pray at
Right?
home.
No. Yeah, they need to
wanna
Why
pray
go
in
can't
their
they
house.
pray at home?
Well,
Why
it's-
can't they
it's-
pray at home? Why do they have to
Agree.
give
Agree.
I
But
don't
I'm-
know.
huge percent of
I'm-
their lifetime income to this place?
Yeah.
That gives you nothing in return.
I mean, think about this, right? This is another thing I was talking about. I'm in the wrong business, obviously. I'm an attorney, right? I represent people trying to get their Social Security disability benefits. I only get paid if I win somebody's case. I can spend 2 years on this person and get not a penny
Ugh.
because I didn't win their case, right? For
Right,
whatever
right.
reason.
Yeah, that's
I have
wrong.
to pay taxes on all of my income. Nobody volunteers to work for me. If anybody is going to do anything for me, I have to pay them, right? I don't
Yep.
have a house that somebody's providing for me to live in while I'm trying to help these people, right? Think
Yeah.
about churches. You
Yeah.
know, they have money. They're being given money that they don't have to pay taxes on. They have 1 million volunteers doing all of their work.
Right.
Yep.
It's kind of criminal.
And what are they offering them? They're offering them the idea that maybe they'll go to heaven or hell, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe
Selling salvation. Selling salvation.
salvation, right?
Yep.
And this is another thing I brought up. It's like, okay, so if you go to church every Sunday, do you think that you're going to be saved from, say, cancer or financial ruin or natural disasters or losing loved ones to tragic and early death? No. None of that will happen. You're going to have just the same chances of having any of that happen that anybody else would, whether they go to church or not, right?
Yes, but you know how they reply to that, right? It's God's plan.
Well, so what's
And how do you argue that?
right? But what's the point, right?
What's
Here
the
I
point?
am. I'm 58 years old, right? I've never believed in God. I've never gone to church, right? So I've never gotten cancer, right? I have a decent life. Everything's fine. Stuff happens like anybody else. But how has not going to church and not believing in God hurt me, right? It hasn't.
It hasn't.
I'm going to deal with the same kind of issues that anybody else is going to deal with, whether or not they go to church. So really, all they're getting for their money is a sermon once a week and the hope that if they go to church, they're going to go to heaven. So, damn, I should have started a church. Why did I open a law practice?
Yeah.
Right?
My goodness. Yeah.
I mean, seriously. But
I make jokes about doing that, starting a church, because I don't really want to work for a living anymore. I would just like to be able to spew bullshit an hour a week and have people pay me.
Right, that's the show. Oh, but we don't get paid.
Oh,
right?
that's right. We just don't get paid. Good point, Bill. Yeah.
But that's
the show.
That's the whole point. Like,
Right.
what are you getting for that? The other thing I was talking about recently is, okay, look at people say, oh, but my church does charity. My church does good things for charities. Okay, well, shit. You could do those same things for charity without the middleman. Why do you need to give your money to your church so they can give money to charities when you could give the money to charities directly on
That's
your
true.
own?
That's true.
Right.
Your church is going
Right.
to use a good percentage of that money on their
Mhm.
upkeep and their salaries,
Hey,
right?
isn't there like only like a certain for an establishment to be considered a
Nonprofit.
nonprofit organization? Don't they only have to give like a certain amount to charity? And right, isn't that how that
Yeah.
works? Yeah.
I mean, but this is the thing. Nonprofits have to file tax returns. Okay, they have
Right.
to prove
Right. The church is
that-
even above a step
Yes.
above that. Right.
nonprofits have to show that they're not profiting, right?
Right.
That the money
Gotcha.
that they're receiving does not profit them in any way. If it profits them, they have to pay taxes on it. Churches don't have that.
Don't even
Churches
have that.
can
Wow.
get whatever amount of money they get. They never have to show that they're using that money for charity.
Right.
They don't have to show that by law.
Right. Wow.
They're exempted from it. So you have Joel Osteen and people like that. But you also
Yep.
have like the Catholic Church. How much they own billions
Right.
in
Yep.
real
Right.
estate, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
other assets, billions that they don't have to pay taxes on. Yet, how many of their followers are starving to death, right?
Yeah.
Starving to
Right.
death.
Right.
How many
Yeah,
Catholic
right.
followers are starving to death?
Yep.
And
Homeless people right outside the Vatican, right?
Yeah.
homeless people, but also people say like in famine,
Right.
like in Africa, where they're starving, they're born starving and dying, right?
Yeah. Well,
The Catholic Church could sell off all of their property to feed those people, but they don't. They
give it
don't.
away. Give away
More
all that
money.
money, Michelle, and
Yeah,
help people.
right.
Please.
And I'm bad for talking about this. I mean, a lot
No,
of
you're
people are
right.
like,
No, you're not
oh, how
bad.
could
You're
you?
right.
A lot of people get so angry. How could you, criticize or,
The proof, the writing's on the wall. The proof's in it's right. It's
Yeah.
right there. It's black
Yeah.
and white.
yeah,
They just don't want
Yeah.
it. They don't want to.
they don't want to hear it.
They don't want it. Right.
Yeah.
They don't want to hear
But
it.
here's the thing: make a list of all the good that the Catholic Church does. Make a list of all the good that it does. So what are we going to put on that list? Let's see. I'm sure they
It's hard to
must
find.
The social aspect.
they must
yeah.
There you
they
go.
must give a little bit of money to
A little bit.
a little bit. What? It's like what 0.1% of their
Yeah.
total gross income at best.
Yep.
They employ a lot of people. God knows there's plenty of priests and nuns still abound in this country, and other countries. The Catholic.
Do nuns even get paid? I don't think nuns even get paid.
No, I think nuns just get a roof, and I think.
Yeah.
I went to Catholic school. There was a convent where all the nuns lived, and
Yeah, they don't get
and they
paid.
lived, and this was in the '60s, and they
You just
lived
give room and
like
board, huh?
they
Yeah.
lived. You got it.
It's room and board.
Wow.
room and board, and they were fed, and that was
And then
it.
they
So
go
it's
around
basically-
smacking kids with rulers and
Oh,
yeah,
terrorizing them.
yeah,
You know?
the strap.
Lovely. Lovely.
Yeah, corporal punishment was very much enjoyed by them back then. They took out all their
Yeah.
sexual frustrations on the boys.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they were basically, and they were slaves to the priests. I mean,
Yeah,
and the priests
course.
didn't really treat them well.
Of course not. Of
And
course
here
not.
they are being forced to teach kids in a Catholic school, day in, day out, and for no pay, basically for free.
Right. Yeah.
And
And
we
what are
had
they teaching them too? What are they teaching them? They're basically
Well-
brainwashing them. They're basically
we-
teaching them stuff that is untrue and
we
not
had,
proven.
we had 45 minutes of religion every single day, and that was the brainwashing every single day.
Yeah, you may learn other stuff, right?
Oh.
But the brainwashing is key. The
Oh,
brainwashing is key.
I got an incredibly good education for the 7 years that I spent in Catholic school in Queens, New York. An amazingly good education.
Right.
But other than that, that was it.
Yep. And
that
there's
was it.
always an ulterior motive, right? Religions, churches don't do good things for the sole benefit of doing good things. They do it to convert people, so those people will spend the rest of their lives paying their church money. That's
Oh
it.
yes.
That's it. It's not like they're out there saying, "Oh, we just want to help. We just want to do good things. We just want to save your soul." No, they want to get people who are going to feel indebted
Yeah.
to those churches for the rest of their lives and
Well,
will pay them. And-
I've always said for years the Catholic Church is a lot like the big tobacco companies. There's similarities going on there with the
Yeah.
trying to get kids indoctrinated into smoking early. Why?
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
they'll buy their product and they'll be and guess what? They may not be brainwashed, but they're addicted. It's kind of goes hand in hand. And
Doesn't
once you
it, though?
get one, that's right. And once you get one kid smoking, he's going to tell all his friends, "Hey, you got to try this. Look, what is it? Oh, a pack of cigarettes. Oh, let me have
Yeah.
one. Let me have one." Right?
It-
So the Catholic
They'll be
Church is
loyal forever.
basically-
Yep.
There you go. It's the tobacco company. Same principle. Get them
Yep.
hooked. Get them buying our product, and life is good. Let's see how many kids we can. Let's see how many adults we can kill, because that's what they're selling, right? They're peddling death. They're
Yep.
peddling
And
death.
it'll ensure a steady stream of money.
Where
Yep.
the church, as far as I'm concerned, peddles hatred. The church
But it's
peddles
for money also. It's for money.
hatred for money. It's
Yeah.
our way is the best way. It's believe in Jesus and you will be saved. Don't believe in other religions because they're all false religions, and that creates a hateful environment.
Yep.
So
Yep. And, okay, so I have a lot of people say, oh, not my church, not my church. When I say, all churches are doing this or that. No, not my church. I said, okay, the one thing that all churches have in common is they peddle lies for money. I mean, who can argue against that, right? Unless you have these preachers who are going out free of charge out into like open spaces and telling people stuff. They're still peddling lies, right? Maybe not for money, but if you can tell me that your church doesn't peddle lies for money, you're lying to me. I mean, that's just the bottom line.
Oh, that's I mean, really, that's the simplest way to look at it if you want to break it down into simple terms. Yeah.
It is.
Peddling
Every
lies for
single
money.
church, because I have so many people like, oh, well, trying to differentiate, what their churches do versus other churches. Okay, but the bottom line is they all peddle lies for money. All of them.
Basically, right.
And
that and the lie is basically the promise of salvation, and that's a big hook. You get that hook in you, and look, they know just what to peddle. If you were promised a Cadillac, you may not, toe the line as much. You may not go to church every Sunday because, most people could possibly afford a Cadillac, but I mean, eternal bliss with angels and harp music and Jesus stopping by once in a while to talk about his hands and his feet. Oh my goodness, what a great payoff. Yeah, I'll give you 10% of what I make every week because I'm stupid.
Just give me money. Just give us money, and you have that. And we'll never be able to prove to you that
yeah, that's a problem.
that what we're doing is actually going to work, right? Okay, so let's think about white collar criminals, right? We got people out there who are in pyramid schemes, are they promoting pyramid schemes, right?
Yep.
They're saying they're taking all this money from all their investors saying, yeah, if you give this money to me, you're going to get a huge return on your investment. And I promise you, your life is going to be so much better. And they get tons and tons of money from these people with no intention to ever give it back or give their interest along with it, right? Yeah. So they're taking away the fortunes or the life savings of these people on the promise that they're going to get more money, right? Yeah. So these guys are found out finally that, it was a pyramid scheme and they go to jail, right? Hopefully.
Yeah. Hopefully.
What are churches going to do after taking 10% of someone's lifetime income and the person dies? Nobody can prove that they didn't go to heaven, right?
Right, exactly.
Right? So they can say whatever they want.
But here's the thing. The church will argue that it was a donation given freely by the parishioner. Nobody coerced them into giving any money. And that's a fact. I mean, it's true.
Yeah, right. But it's the same with the people who donate to these pyramid schemes, right?
Oh, of course it is.
Nobody forced them. Nobody put a gun against their head and said...
another scam.
It's just another scam.
Nobody,
hey, isn't the advertising
to.
agency the same thing? I mean, it's a promise of like, oh, this is the best product, and so or name brand things, but
yeah.
like,
But other industries are monitored, right? As an attorney, I have extremely strict rules that I have to follow or I can be disbarred.
Sure.
Right? So, in a Social Security case, right? The most that I can ever get on a case after following it for, maybe 2 years is $6,000. All right, when you think of what attorneys generally pay, that's nothing,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Right? I mean,
Right.
or what they generally get paid, that's nothing. I'm not allowed to charge my clients more than that, right? I have to follow that rule. I also have to follow the rule that if I don't win their case, I get nothing. I get nothing. I can work on this case for 2 years and not get a penny, right? That's a rule designed to protect my clients, okay? And I'm not arguing against it. These people don't have money. But why aren't churches held to the same standards? Why are they allowed to go willy-nilly and take as much money as people will give them without showing that their promises are going to come true?
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Why is there that different standard? It's saying that religion is this sacred thing, that religion is something more profound or special than other things that other people do, other small businesses, other, stuff that goes on in the world. But why is that? Is there any proof that religion actually does any good? I mean, my feeling is it's done is far more bad, far more harm in the world than any good. The wars that have been started by it, the people who have been killed over it, their rights deprived over it. And now we're seeing in America, Christo-fascism forcing girls and women to give birth to babies even in situations of rape or
Yeah.
where they would die.
Right.
Forced birth is a human rights violation. And even the UN is getting involved in this. I mean,
Good.
and we have these Christians saying that I don't believe in abortion. I don't believe in abortion. So what I feel, my religion dictates how everybody in this country should be treated, right? And that seems to be okay because America gives complete and utter control of religion over anything else. No
Yep.
matter who it hurts, no matter how many gay kids are being harassed and
Right, right.
threatened, okay, and committing suicide because they're no longer accepted in America. No matter how many black men who are unarmed are being abused and shot by police. It's sick. I mean, how are people separating that from what's happening to women and girls and other people in Iran and Afghanistan, right? They think, okay, it's a Muslim religion. They've got control over the country.
That makes it
They
okay.
condemn it. They condemn what's going on over there,
Yeah.
but yet they do the exact same thing here.
That's exactly right, because it's Christianity rather than Islam.
Right.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
what
our
we're doing is
religion,
okay.
our religion is better than your religion, right?
Yeah. And if
There
we
it
want to
is.
control the country and,
Yeah.
destroy people's lives and minimize them so they have no rights, it's okay because it's under Christianity instead of Islam. That's
So-
okay.
So we
You know?
are somewhere around 26% of the population here in this country, atheism, right? Or people that do not subscribe to any organized religion as they describe it, right? So we're 1 in 4. So what do we do to combat this? I mean, I don't like the idea of prayer. Now, I don't go to school, and I haven't been in school in many, many years. But to force prayer in school, I have a real
Nope.
problem with that.
There's a real
Um,
problem with that. We
I-
need separation of church and state.
We need total separation of
Yep.
church and state completely.
I mean, it's on
You know?
money. It's on police cars. In God we
Oh.
trust. I mean, come
know.
on.
It's everywhere. I wrote a column about it once. It was called "Being Atheist in America," and it was
Yep.
mostly tongue in cheek, and it was supposed to be funny, but a lot of it was true. What I wrote, because I'm
Yeah.
surrounded by it. I'm
It's
surrounded
not
by
funny.
it. It's not
It's-
funny.
It's not
but,
funny.
But I made it funny. Let's put it that way.
Right.
I
Right.
wrote it in a comedic vein, through sarcasm, because I wanted people to read it and go, "Wow, I never thought of it that way." Yeah, I'm an atheist that's surrounded by religion, and not just one. I mean, the Jewish religion, the Muslim religion. There are Buddhists in this country. There's the indigenous religions. I mean, we're surrounded by religion on a
Yep.
daily basis. And there are times of the year where it's worse. And we know when this is, Easter and Christmas. That's when it's worse.
Yep.
We're just bombarded. We're bombarded. I drive down Route 95, Interstate 95, in parts of Virginia, and there are giant billboards telling me, trust in Jesus, and
Oh
there are
yeah.
pictures. There are little pictures of little children. God does this is evidence for God. You put a
Yep.
child up there, and that's evidence for God. I'm like, seriously, you got to do better than that.
Yep.
If you're going to convince me.
And they don't go
Yeah.
by science. I mean, okay, this is another thing I've talked about. It's like Roe v. Wade was upheld for years and years because it's a very reasonable court decision about who can, when people can get an abortion and under
Yes.
what circumstances, okay? Very reasonable. It protected both the mother and the fetus, okay?
Yes.
But churches and Republican politicians have convinced people that, it allows them to kill their babies even after birth. Okay.
Yes, I know. This is the latest BS that
Yeah.
the Republican Party is spewing
Yeah.
everywhere. That we
mean
It
kill
allows-
them
There's people that
after birth.
there's people
Yeah.
that actually believe that.
Yes,
they
I'm
do
joking.
believe it.
I'm joking. I'm like,
No,
Yeah.
no, there are people that believe this.
know, I
Yes.
know.
Yep. And they've convinced these people that all abortion is bad, all abortion is wrong. And, nobody cares about the mother anymore. Nobody cares about, even a 10-year-old girl who is raped, right? You're going to force your 10-year-old girl to carry a baby to term. Can you imagine the psychological and physical consequences of such a thing? Nobody cares
Well-
about kids anymore. You care about
So-
fetuses more than children.
So, Michelle, what's the ulterior motive behind this? I know what I
Control
think
of
it is.
women. It's control of women.
All right, that's number one. What's number two?
I don't know. What do you
Number
think?
number two is this: that religions see their numbers waning, less
Yeah.
and less people as time progresses and as we get smarter. Well, some of us,
Yeah.
and we realize that science plays a big part in our lives. Less and less people are turning to the church.
And also the kind of loosening up of traditions.
Yep.
somewhat.
That's a big part. No,
And-
I think that's a pretty big part in it.
And when they see these numbers dwindling, it scares them. They
Yep.
realize that down the road, their time will come where there'll be no more people coming in to shell out that money, and they'll lose that power and control. So they want those lives. They want to stop abortion because it puts more people in those churches. Those children will be born, they'll be indoctrinated, they'll be brainwashed, and they will fill seats in church. And when the thing gets passed around, they'll throw money in there. So that's the second ulterior motive. I think that's probably the most. I mean,
Yeah.
nobody has a right to tell any woman what to do with her own life, but to think that you want children to survive so that you can brainwash them and have them sit in church every Saturday or Sunday, that's horrible. It's a horrible thought. to
And why
me.
do you think religion and republicanism are so connected? It's the same reason. Republicans know that they're a dying breed. They
Yes.
know that kids are getting smarter. This is why they want to boost the
Yes.
voting age
We
up.
will
Yes,
absolutely.
you know.
In 50 years from now, we will be so much more of a liberal country. It has to go that way. There's no
If-
other
Oh,
way.
I hope so.
Oh no,
I don't know.
it has to. That's how I
If the
feel.
fascists don't take over first, I mean, they've
Uh,
already taken 50%
what?
of our states.
I think that
50%.
the younger generation.
Okay, but what if they lose the right to vote in the meantime, right? So the younger
I hope they
generation,
fight. I hope I may not be alive or maybe
Yeah, but-
around, but I hope they actually fight. They go take it to the streets. You know, I mean, that's what I can hope.
Yes.
Hey guys, I think we've been talking for a while, and I think that it'd be a really good point for us to make this a part one of this conversation, and we will bring back Michelle for part two, and hope that you can join us.
Thank you. Please wait for assistance.
This is Bill, and you're listening to Pull Yourself to Pieces, the podcast, hosted on Anchor. You never heard of Anchor? Anchor by Spotify is a podcast host platform, and it's an easy way to make a podcast. We picked Anchor because they have everything we needed all in one place. You can record and edit a podcast from your computer or even right from your phone. Then you can have your podcast distributed easily to multiple platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and much more. And did I mention it's free? That's right. Anchor is free. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Please check out our website, pullyourselftopieces.com.
That's right.
And you can subscribe to the show in Google and Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, Castbox, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Stitcher, and YouTube, or via RSS, so you'll never miss an episode.
And if you enjoy our show, don't forget to give us a high rating.
And remember to tell your friends about the show.
Thanks for listening to our show, and thank you to freesounds.org and Gottlieb, Audio Mirage, Plastabrain, Cognito Perceptu, FK Prod, Mirage Taser, Shadow Wisp, D-Boss, Viku Seru, Intra Environmental Sound Project, Julian Nicholas, Carmelo Mike, G Kill Hour, 140178 Sound, CMU Sound Design, Alan M.G., Der Super Anton, Eric H2000, Bulbastray, FK Phantom, Ultra Dust, Ada Records, Stuart Colborn, Debroid, Cubidup, GJ, Syntax Seed, Inspector J, Astounded, Madge 061785, Just Invoke, Short Record, Lorenzo Sue, and I'm Mackenzie. CreativeCommons.org/licenses/by/3.0/legal code.